Hi, third graders. Welcome to today's Read Aloud. It's from our Unit 2 Animal Classification Unit, and it is Lesson 6. In today's Read Aloud, you will learn about amphibians. Say that with me. Amphibians. The word amphibian means living two lives or living in two worlds. What do you think that means as it relates or pertains to the amphibians animal group? I want you to think about that as you're reading. One way for us to understand the text is to think about the connections to the text. Readers are always thinking, how does this event connect to the next event? Or what are the steps in this text? Authors share information in a few different formats. Our text structures, how an informational text can be set up, is we have description, problem and solution, compare and contrast, cause and effect, and sequence. Today, we're going to be focusing on sequence. We're going to listen for signal words like first, second, third, then, next, before, after, finally, and following. And some tips as you're reading. Ask yourself, is this event taking place over time? Look for steps or references to time, such as dates. So looking for time passing by. So we're listening for some signal words during the lesson. You will need to complete activity page 6.2 as we're doing the read aloud. So if you don't have it in front of you, pause the video, go get activity book page 6.2, and then come on back. Here we go. I'm back, everybody, and today I've brought some excellent slides of Tabitha toad and Paolo piranha to show you, so we can compare how scientists classify them in the taxonomy of animals. Tabitha is not a fish, but she and Paolo are similar in many ways. It's true that Tabitha and Paolo don't look very much alike, but as the saying goes, you can't judge a book by its cover. When classifying animals, scientists often search for similarities as well as differences. One similarity between Tabitha and Paolo is that, as you know, they are both members of the animal kingdom. You've learned that scientists classify animals as cold-blooded or warm-blooded. Does anyone know which category Tabitha belongs? Do you think that her body maintains a constant internal temperature like yours, or does her temperature adjust to her surroundings like a fish does? Yes, her body temperature fluctuates, it changes. So she is classified as a cold-blooded animal like Paolo. That's another way that they are similar to one another. They are both animals and they are both cold-blooded. Now take a closer look at Tabitha toad. Can you tell just by looking at her whether she is cold-blooded or warm-blooded? No, but once you learn a bit more about her habits, you will understand how scientists determine that she is cold-blooded. You know that scientists also classify animals according to whether or not they have backbones. Think about what you learned about Tabitha's backbone. Yes, there it is. Just like you and Paolo, Tabitha has vertebrae, a column of bones, all down her back. Who remembers what scientists call animals with backbones? Do you remember? She's a vertebrate. So Paolo and Tabitha are both cold-blooded vertebrates. Does anyone remember any other fish characteristics? Make a prediction about which characteristics Tabitha shares with Paolo. Remember, fish breathe oxygen with gills. Fish are aquatic, they live in the water. Do Tabitha and other toads have gills, scales, or fins? Do they lay eggs or live in water? These are rather tricky questions because toads belong to a group of animals that change during their lifetime. Their bodies change, their habits change, and their habitats change. I'm going to share lots of information with you today, so get ready for some miraculous surprises. Before we go any further, I want to introduce the name of Tabitha Toad's group of animals. Some of you may know it already. How do scientists classify toads? Yes, they are members of a class of animals known as amphibians. Most amphibians spend part of their lives in water and part on land. Toads love the water. Like all amphibians, Tabitha began her life as an aquatic animal living in the water. She spends most of her time on dry land now. In fact, she loves the woodlands, but every spring she makes her way to a small freshwater pond in the wetland. First, she will lay her eggs. Just before I took this picture, she laid a few thousand eggs in the shallow water. Toads must lay their eggs in water because their soft, jelly-like coverings can easily dry out in the air. Come and see. So we're going to take a picture pause here, and you need to get activity book 6.2. We heard a clue word, and it said a signal word. It said, first, she will lay her eggs. So that is the thing, that's what you're going to write in the box that has first. You're going to write, first, she will lay her eggs. Go ahead and write that. You're also going to draw a picture in the box next to it that shows her eggs. So there's a picture. You can see there it said she'll lay a few thousand eggs. And they're like a jelly-like substance around them, and you can see the sort of a black dot in the center. So if you can pause the video now and do your drawing, or you can go back later and do your drawings. Most of the eggs will never hatch. Can anyone think of why this is so? There are many ways that eggs can be destroyed. By becoming a tasty meal for a predator, being washed away in a flood, or drying up if there's not enough rain. I want you to listen very closely now. Next, a few hundred toad eggs will hatch into tadpoles. Tadpoles have gills just like fish and use their gills to breathe underwater. They are herbivores and eat tiny aquatic plants, but they're in constant danger because other fish can swallow them whole. Look at all those tadpoles. I believe those are all tadpoles. So did you hear a signal word in there? We're going to take a picture pause here. I heard a signal word, next. Next, a few hundred toad eggs will hatch into tadpoles. That's what you're going to write on the next line. And you can draw a little picture. Now that only shows a few tadpoles, but there would be a few hundred of them. Same thing, write the sentence on the lines, pause the video if you need to, and then you can draw the picture now or draw it later. Then the tadpoles will morph or change into very different looking creatures. Young amphibians with very different habits. This transformation process of changing appearance from one stage to another is called metamorphosis. Skin has covered their gills and they grew lungs for breathing air on land. Tiny legs have also appeared. So let's do another picture pause. Then is the signal word. The tadpoles will morph or change into very different looking creatures with very different habits. That's a lot to write on that line. You need to write small. You can see even the text went down onto another line. And there's a teeny tiny little frog or toad. So the tadpoles will morph or change into very different looking creatures with very different habits. The last signal word that we're listening for is last. Oh, did we already hear it? Listen as I read. I'll go back to the picture so that you can see the picture as I'm reading. Sorry about that, guys. Then the tadpoles will morph or change into very different looking creatures, young amphibians with very different habits. Last, young amphibians will grow into adult toads. Those amphibians that survive to adulthood will be hopping and crawling around on land searching for food, just like Tabitha. Plant life will no longer interest them. Instead, they'll snatch up bugs, worms, spiders, and slugs with their sticky tongues. Most adult amphibians are carnivores. Some of the toad's larger relatives, like bullfrogs, even eat small mammals and birds. The world's biggest frog is the West African Goliath frog. It is the size of a pet cat and eats other frogs, baby crabs, and snakes. So our last signal word that we heard there was last. Last, young amphibians will grow into adult toads. So there you go. And this life cycle is the same for frogs or toads. Frogs and toads are the largest group of amphibians. Because they have so many of the same characteristics, many people have a difficult time telling them apart. I know I do. The main difference between them is that toad's skin is a bit drier than frog's skin. Remember that although together they make up the largest group of amphibians, they are not the only group of amphibians. Most scientists generally agree that amphibians evolved from an early group of fish with lobed or fleshy fins hundreds of millions of years ago, long before the dinosaurs. Scientists continue to study fossil remains, trying to figure out the exact way in which this slow change occurred over a long period of time. Next time we meet, you will learn all about the way scientists classify snakes like anaconda. I'll give you a hint. Remember when I said that salamanders are often mistaken for lizards, but that lizards belong to a different group of animals? Well, Anna belongs to the same group as lizards. Does anyone want to predict the name of that group? Wait and see if you're right. For now, I want to congratulate you all on being such good sleuths or detectives. Any taxonomist would love to have your help in classifying Earth's animals. See you soon.